Let's look at how the home flippers are doing, and I'm going to share my thoughts on how to squeeze out the flippers as home sellers or home buyers. Hey, welcome back to Shawn Realty podcast. This is Shawn, the realtor guy from Portland, Oregon. It's an interesting angle to look at how home flippers are approaching the current market. That might give you a different angle to understand how the housing market is doing. Quickly show you this chart. By the way, this is from the article from a company called ATTOM. And I wanted to explain this to you first, and then I will read the article, the key points, and then at the end, I'm going to share how to squeeze out the flipper. So let's go back. Sometimes I repeat myself a lot. So as you see right here, the left side peak right there, it starts from about Q1 of 2024, and it peaked around Q3 of 2025, and then there's another peak in Q3 of 2026. So that was a peak of the market. And then the valley, the lowest of the market was Q1 of 2009. And it kind of started from about Q1 of 2007, right? And the second peak on the right here, it starts from about Q1 of 2021, and then the peak was about Q1 of 2022. So that was right before the interest rate jump, and then it crashed right after that. And then the lowest point in the last about 2-3 years was Q3 of 2023 and Q1 of 2025. That was beginning of this year. One interesting thing that I want to point out here is that we're either on Q3 of about 2007 or we are at Q1 of 2009. That's the point that I wanted to make. If you look at the linear sort of like a appreciation line right there, it kind of matches. I think based on this, how the home flippers are seeing how many home flipping is happening, we've already hit the bottom. That's my conclusion based on this one. If I'm wrong, maybe 2026 might be the bottom, but it already looks like we already hit the peak and we already hit the bottom. That's what I see. Let's look at what the article says. It was published on June 18th, about 9 days ago. Let's see. So the home flipping report showing that 67,394 single-family homes and condominiums were flipped in the first quarter of 2025, accounting for 8.3% of all home sales from January through March. So that's close to 10%, which means it's safe to say every one home out of 10 homes are being flipped. Buying slowdown also appeared to be affecting home flippers. The 67,394 homes and condo flipped nationwide during the first 3 months of the year marked the lowest number in a quarter since 2018. Returns also have been falling, with the typical flipped home netting a 25% return on investment before expenses in the first quarter of 2025. That was down from 28% in the previous quarter and continued a gradual decline from the recent high of 48.8% in the fall of 2022. So they were making about 49% in the fall of 2022. That was the peak of the iBuyer time, right? Do you remember the Zillow iBuyer program, the Open Door, I think Keller Williams did iBuyer program too. It was just a chaotic time. So when things are hot, yeah, you can make money by flipping. The competitive home market means high prices, which is the good for short-term investors on the selling end, said Rob Barber, CEO at ATTOM. But that dynamic is also making it harder to find underpriced homes to buy up, and it's ultimately squeezing profit margins for the industry. If you look at it on the flip side, that means homeowners are doing better. So the way I look at it is, if the home flippers are doing well, that means home owners are losing money. If the flippers are losing money, that means homeowners are doing well. That's how I see it. Among the metro areas analyzed, home flippers accounted for the biggest share of sales in Macon, Georgia. Flips comprised 21% of all home sale. Warner Robins, Georgia, 20.6%. Atlanta, Georgia, 15.9%. Memphis, Tennessee, 14.7%. Akron, Ohio, 13.3%. Less expensive homes most profitable for flipping. Metro areas where the typical flipped home cost investors less than $225,000 to purchase tended to give the best returns on investment. The median profit margin in those lower-end metro markets was 46.4%. Wow. In metro markets where the median purchase price before flip was between $225,000 and $400,000, median ROI was 22%, while in areas where homes initially cost flippers more than $400,000, the median ROI was 19%. So between $225K and $400 and above $400K, the difference is only 3%. However, under $225,000 and less, the margin was 46.4%. That's a really nice chunk of change for the flippers. Nationwide, 62.2% of all homes flipped during the first quarter of 2025 were purchased with all cash. There's a lot of money, guys. The metro areas where flippers purchased the highest share of homes entirely with the cash were Rockford, Illinois, 81.6% flipped homes, Toledo, Ohio, 81.2%, Buffalo, New York, 81.2%, Cape Coral, Florida, 81.1%, Naples, Florida, 81.1%. Slight quarterly increase in flipped homes sold to FHA borrowers across the country. 10.9% of flipped homes were sold to buyers who had FHA loan, which are often used by first-time buyers. That was up from 10.5% last quarter, but down from 11.1% at the same time last year. So out of one out of 10 flipped homes, they were basically sold to FHA loan. When you hear FHA loan, that's like typically low down payment. People who put down anywhere between like 3.5% to maybe 10%. But yeah, I mean, if you have to put down 10%, I think it makes more sense to go conventional. But it's most likely 3.5% down payment, the first time home buyers. I'm going to give a FHA home buyers a tip too, to squeeze out the margins for the flippers. One of every 4 counties has home flipping rate of at least 10%. Homes flips made of more than 10% of all home sales in 27.1%. So see, 240 counties of the 885 counties that had at least 10 flips in the first quarter of 2025. The counties with the largest share of home flips as a percentage of sales were Cobb County, Georgia, 25.9% flipping rate. Dawson County, Georgia, 23.4%. Houston County, Georgia, 23%. Bibb County, Georgia, 22.8%. Lincoln County, Tennessee, 20.4%. Yeah, that's a lot of flipping still happening. Meaning, now it's time to talk about how to squeeze out flippers. I don't have anything against the flippers, but I see where home sellers and home buyers can benefit from these key points that I'm going to make. So let's look at the home sellers selling their home because it's in a fixer condition. They understand it's not going to get the market value, so just go ahead and skip listing, going through the inconvenience, and just get this cash offer from the flippers. Whether that's from iBuyer program, whether that's open door, whether that's like off-market street sign, individual cash investors or hedge fund investors, it doesn't matter. The flippers will want to get that $400,000 home. Let's say that's like average condition fair market price. I'm basing on my market in Portland, Oregon. Assuming it doesn't have a huge issue, it has some wear and tear, but first-time home buyers wouldn't mind buying it because $400,000 single-family home is a great deal right now. But if this home seller feels so like needing the money right away, they don't want to go through the marketing, if they are going to sell it to those flippers, they'll be lucky to get $300,000. That's the problem. More likely, they may get close to $280,000, $250,000. So home seller, because of that quick sale and for the convenience, that home seller can lose about $100,000 to about $150,000. In some cases, maybe $200,000. But what if that home seller just talk to some realtors who don't have any ties to these investors or not working directly with them? That's the key. I say, hey, what would happen if I list this house at the current market, at the current condition without doing any repairs? Can you sell it within 2 weeks? And if so, what's that price that I have to list it at? There's a high chance if that house is listed at $350,000, or in worst case, if you list at $300,000, unless it has like foundation issue or like a roof is falling down, there's a higher chance that home seller could get multiple offers if they list at $300,000 right now. If they listed at $350,000, there's still a good chance that they could actually get multiple offers. Sold as is, somebody just want to buy. I wouldn't be surprised if that home seller got 2, 3, 4, 5 offers. So in this case, even after the fees, the loss wouldn't be as big as $100,000, $150,000, or $200,000. Let's just say $350,000. I'll just go ahead and pull that. Sorry, I just got a sort of important text there. I'm not going to check it. I'll save the excitement whether I got the listing or not. Let's see. $350,000 and you pay, let's say, like 3%. So if you make 97% of that, you make about $339,500. But if you say 6%, I mean, I'm not really supposed to say 6 or 5%. I'm just hypothetically saying that if that home seller sold at 350, net 94%, that home seller just netted $329,000. There's a higher chance that the home flippers wouldn't even touch at 350K. If the home flippers think that there's nothing to be done, they might. Because if they flip it, they may make like $10,000, maybe $20,000. Assuming the home will sell as is condition at $400,000. But that's the balancing act here. So for the home seller, instead of calling those flippers or answering those letters or selling to one of those iBuyer big companies, if they just talk to the realtor and say, hey, can you just go ahead and list it at the sold as is price that will sell off the market in the first week? That's all you have to do. And more likely it's going to close within 30 days and home seller can save a lot of money. That's the one way to squeeze out the flipper. The other way to squeeze out the flipper is on the buyer side. If the buyer using FHA loan, just buying up this already flipped homes, in this case, if $400,000 home was bought by a flipper, they've fixed some things, put some cosmetic stuff in, make it nice and shiny just on the surface. They might be able to sell it at $425,000, maybe $450,000 because it's been flipped. And while the flipper make about $150K, what if the FHA borrowers just talk to one of those the sellers who sold as is at $350,000 and just go ahead and offer like $360,000, $375,000 using like the rehab loan. We call it the FHA 203K loan, meaning you basically set aside certain amount of money after the closing is done, and you're supposed to use that money to fix up to make the house in reasonable condition. And in that case, home sellers get what they want, and the home buyers with, let's say, $25,000 rehab cost, they bought it at $400,000 instead of $425,000 or $450,000 compared to when you buy from a flipper. Does that make sense? So these are the two ways to squeeze out the flippers. I'm giving you guys, the consumers, the home sellers and home buyers, to do better than flippers. You can squeeze them out. These are the two ways to do it. So when you're talking to any realtors, you just ask them a question. Hey, who do you represent? If they say, well, I'm representing this investor, then just hang up. Just talk to somebody else. If they say, well, I'm getting this like a company called OfferPad or something that they're going to give me some, more commission, the back-end listing opportunity and all that stuff, just talk to somebody else. Somebody who doesn't have that kind of ties, who will only represent your best interests 100%. So talk to multiple realtors and just ask them, who do you represent? Can you represent me 100%? That's like hugely important. And don't talk to anybody who says, I can represent you and this other guy. Just walk away. Just talk to a realtor who will only represent you 100%. I think I said it 3 times, so I hope that sticks to your brain. Anyways, yeah. So this is how you can do well as an individual home seller and home buyer. If you want to do both, that's fine. But what I find in a lot of this home flipping is that home sellers been there for a long time. They don't have any loan. They already paid off. They're kind of older generation a lot of times. And I just hate seeing these people taking advantage of by these home flippers. Again, it's open market. It's capitalistic society, so there's nothing wrong with it. But I rather see the individual homeowners do better than the investor flippers, because there'll always be investor flippers deals. But hopefully not, from these people who paid off their loan and, because they have a weaker income or they couldn't maintain the home that well, they have to lose another 100K. It doesn't make sense to me. They're already losing a lot to the property taxes to government and everything. But anyways, I hope this makes sense. If you want to know about your fixer home 1 week selling price, give me a call, and I guarantee you I'm gonna just represent you 100%, because whenever I see these offers, hey, do you have any off-market deal that I can do like double-ended? Like, when I put them all in junk. I don't even answer. I don't even talk to those people. And the people companies like I buy a program, I think OfferPad offers like 4%, blah blah blah. I'm like, I ignore all of them because I want to work with individual home sellers or home buyers. So give me a call if you're in this situation. If you want to know the 1 week sold as is selling price, that's like 90% or better chance to sell it in the first 2 weeks, give me a call, 503-515-4499. And if you want to talk about using the FHA 203K loan for a fixer home, I'll be happy to guide you on that as well. So you can call me too. But yeah, so going back to how flippers are doing, it kind of shows how the housing market is doing. And thanks so much for watching. This is kind of a long video, longer than what I make usually, but if you hit the like button and subscribe, I would really appreciate it, and hopefully they will push this video more to the individual home sellers and home buyers, so we can do better individually rather than losing money out on these investor flippers. Anyways, if you're an investor flipper, just take me off the list. I don't want to share my opportunity, the individual seller context to you guys. Talk to somebody else. So have a good day.